sit legally if you are a volunteer firey, you want to get away in order to put yourself on a fire front, and your employer says, no, do it on your own time? What legal protection do volunteers have if they want to take time off to help during disasters? Brad Petley is an employment lawyer with Acumen Lawyers. Brad, good morning. Can a volunteer ask their paid employer for time off to fight fires?
Good morning, Rebecca. And the good news for that volunteer firefighter is, yes, they can ask for time off. They're entitled to community service leave under the Fair Work Act. And it's a protected right. It's an event-based leave that it's not, they don't get like 10 days a year. It's if there are 50 fires, they can go and attend to 50 fires. There are preconditions to it, of course. The Bob story is a very interesting one. Everything turns on its facts, but certainly he does have protections. With a large employer, you'd expect them to have a suite of workplace policies. Companies can only operate through their human agents, and companies or corporate employers need to comply with laws, including workplace laws, and you don't want managers going off and making maverick decisions. So how you keep them on track is by having a robust set of policies which, in plain English, set out what they're supposed to do in these situations, so the company doesn't inadvertently breach the workplace laws, because the penalties are quite steep.
Okay, well, I want to hear more about them, but just putting yourself in the shoes of the employer for a moment, like fire conditions, economic conditions can change rapidly and dramatically. If it's going to seriously financially impact the employer and their business, is there an argument that they can say, I can't, you're going to do damage to me if you leave?
Yes, it is balanced by the test of reasonableness. If it's not reasonable for the employer to provide leave to that employee, they can refuse. But then, is that employee in a client critical, a service critical position where they can't have relief, or is there some critical feature to their job that if they just walked out, they would leave that employer in a very vulnerable situation?
This Bob works for a multinational company. It's not a small business running on tight staffing. Are you surprised at the response?
Yes, I am. And when I first heard of this, I sort of wondered if there's a history behind this. Has there been some tension between Bob, and I'm not casting aspersions on anyone, has there been a tension between Bob and the manager? And what's triggered this? Because standing in the shoes of the multinational, if I was in HR and I found out about these facts, I'd be very, very concerned, because you wouldn't want to inadvertently breach these laws, because they do have quite severe penalties.
Brad Petley is an employment lawyer with Acumen Lawyers, and I'm keen to hear from you. Are you one of the 33,000 volunteer fireys? Do you have any issues getting away in the event of a disaster? If you've got a story to tell, let me know. 1300 222 612. Brad, what if we call Bob back and, he was told, no, fight the fires on your own time. He did that after work, but he's taken yesterday off. What would happen if his boss sacked him and said, don't come back to work?
Well, based on those facts, Bob could have a good case for a general protections claim under the Fair Work Act, because him being dismissed, the adverse action, him being dismissed because he had a workplace right, and the workplace right is to take community service leave and fight fires, because he not only has an entitlement to under the community service leave to be and attend and fight the fires, but also to have reasonable rest and also travelling time. So reasonable rest in those set of facts seem to fit what he did. It's like reasonable rest wouldn't be just taking 2 weeks and going to Hayman Island. The next day, if you've worked all through the night, of course it'd be unsafe to go to work. You need to sleep, get rest. Yes,
it's complex and it's sensitive in this environment, but I appreciate you sharing your insight this morning, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Brad Petley, who is from Acumen Lawyers. 1300 222 612. If you've got an experience you want to share about being a volunteer firey, or as an employer who has volunteers who want to go away for work, how does that play out in your day-to-day business? Let me know. 1300 222 612, and I'll get to your texts on fireworks next too.